Bless you.
Nice. Thank you, Thomas. Welcome back. Welcome back to northeastvalleynews.org. This is a brand new podcast for spring semester 2024. It is called Fielder's Choice, and you're going to find out why it's called Fielder's Choice in just one moment. You may be listening to us at nevalleynews.org, or you could be listening to us on NEVN FM. It's been so long since we've done a podcast, I forgot our Spotify station. You could be listening to us on Spotify as well. We don't mind whichever you do. Welcome back. We haven't been podcasting for some time because we had break, right, in between. And then we came back, and then there was a little bit of a lull. And now we are having our first podcast of the semester, okay? I apologize for any of you who are tuning in to listen to This Day in Sport for the last few weeks and didn't find it. I do apologize for that. But we're back on the air now. This podcast is called Fielder's Choice. I'm going to explain what's going to happen. First of all, I'm going to go around the studio and tell you who's here. You've already met Thomas Bonvehi. He sneezed right at the beginning of the podcast
Terrible
to bring
time.
us in.
Yeah,
That's fine. What the heck? Andrea Miguel is right next to him. She is a new reporter.
Hello.
She's new on the podcast. Olivia Rose is next to her.
Hi.
Also a newbie. Who we got next? Oh, yes. Ethan Cohen is here.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. Welcome
Always
back.
here.
Welcome back, Ethan. Sitting next to him is Jaxson Birrenkott. I did better the first time.
Happy to be here.
Thanks, Jaxson. We're happy to have you here.
Jason's happy to be here too.
Jason is there was in semesters past a Jason that was in your spot. So that's what I'm going to use for an excuse. Jaxson, thanks for being here. Jackson's also a new reporter. He's going to be podcasting with us coming up here in the future, we hope, again. Okay, so here's how the podcast works. It's called Fielder's Choice. Each panelist that you see here has come to the podcast with their own idea for a topic. We're going to go around the studio and talk about each topic for about 5 minutes each. Olivia and I are going to be a podcast team because we found out in pre-production that our topic is the same.
Woo.
Yeah. So Olivia and I are going to team up. We're going to get 10 minutes. So all these suckers are only going to get 5.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
So in the future, if you want more time, you're going to get yourself a podcast partner. Yeah. Also, if you want to participate in the podcast, you can do so by signing up for JRN 210 News and Media Production at Scottsdale Community College. Why, Ethan, would you take classes that make you snooze when you can report the news?
Smooth.
Nice.
We're
stealing that.
We're going to go right into the podcast. We're going to podcast for 30 minutes starting just about now. And we're going to talk about the things that we think that you want to hear. Thomas, we decided in pre-production that you were going to start first.
Yep.
You've got 5 minutes to throw out a topic and for us to talk about it. So hit it.
All right, let's talk about Saudi Arabian football or soccer, however you want to call it. First of all, obviously, Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best to ever play, moved there last year. And then in June, or the summer transfer window, he's joined by Karim Benzema, who won a Ballon d'Or, N'Golo Kante, Neymar, Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, Marcelo Brozovic, and many more star players.
These are all people that are going to be playing on the Saudi
These
league?
are players who have played on the Saudi Pro League.
Money
Okay.
talks.
Wow.
Money does talk.
Money
Mo Salah
talks.
was rumored there on deadline day to Al Ittihad. Lionel Messi was a possible candidate, but we all know where he is now, as he is playing here in the MLS. Jota, at just the age of 24, moved to the Saudi Pro League. He was considered to become a player for Liverpool, Manchester United, and he chose the money.
Wow.
And even a Liverpool legend, Steven Gerrard, and current manager moved to Al Ettifaq to pair up with former player Jordan Henderson. And Henderson got some backlash because he was an activist to an extent about LGBTQ, and Saudi Arabia, they don't have.
They're not super down with
Yeah,
that.
they're not super down with that.
Yeah,
and
we
former
understand.
teammates were let down. We'll get back to Henderson in a minute, though. And some believed, alongside the fact that they had just bought Newcastle United and taken them into the Champions League, and with a very high chance of hosting the 2034 World Cup, it looked like they might be taking over football. And of course, Mbappe was offered a 1-year deal worth $700 million by Al Hilal.
$700 million for how long?
1 year.
1 year.
1 year?
Unbelievable.
That is
It's
ridiculous.
insane.
It's redonk for sure.
Wow. So this is basically what you're saying, Thomas, is this is basically like live golf, but with soccer.
Pretty much.
Okay. So all the money in the world plus $1.
Yeah.
All right.
You
Cool
can throw-
beans. What? So continue. Do you want to go right into your question?
Yes. And so they started the season, and on average, 8,776 people show up to these games. Al Ettifaq is a good example. Their seating percentage is only 20.7%. And in one of those games, only 700 fans showed up. Let that
Really?
sink in.
So this is much less than a normal game.
Yeah.
Okay.
700 fans showing up. I mean, there are high schoolers that draw in, 10 times that size. And that since then, the January transfer window opened. Karim Benzema, 6 months in, looks like he was going to move out. Jordan Henderson, he went to Ajax. He went to the Netherlands. There were rumors that N'Golo Kante wanted out. So, there was a lot going on. But Ronaldo, he did go on record. He stated that the Saudi Pro League is better than Ligue 1, the league in France, the top tier of France football. He did state that the Ballon d'Or and the best have lost credibility. And even though I'm a Messi fan, I can say Messi did not deserve that Ballon d'Or or the best awards. And I personally believe the Saudi Pro League project will actually fall apart within 2 to 3 years because the same thing happened in China back in 2017, 2018. They kept throwing money. I know that kind of would stop because of COVID, but I just think this one's just going to fall apart.
You think it's going to go down the tubes?
I think it's
What do our
Well-
panelists what do our panelists have to say about this? Anybody got something to say about a dream team?
I'll take this one. So Saudi Arabia actually, just in general in the sports world, I don't know if you would consider the WWE a sport because it's kind of scripted.
It's sports entertainment.
Thank you. Anyway, so yeah, the WWE occasionally has pay-per-views in Saudi Arabia. So I think Saudi Arabia is just trying to use this to take over the sports world. So I think eventually people will get on board with it and they'll make a lot of money because Crown Jewel did get a lot of views. So
you think it's going to go?
I think it's gonna go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Jaxson,
right.
what do you got?
Ethan, you mentioned the sports world there, WWE going into it, talking about live golf a little bit, Saudi Arabia being involved in sports. There was talks about Saudi Arabia wanting to own an NFL team. So you definitely see a lot of money there. They want to get involved in the sports world. But for the soccer league, you're kind of seeing Karim Benzema. How old is he? Do you know?
He is around 34, 35.
Exactly. He's at the, end of his career. I think that's what this league's going to be. It's going to be a fad. Like you see with Messi, he comes to America because, a little bit more spotlight. He can kind of relax after he's had his obviously great career with FC Barcelona. And I don't think you're ever really going to see guys like Mbappe in the Saudi Arabia league because one, they want their legacy. They want to go to these prime teams that their, teams have been good for 20 plus years, not just this new Saudi Arabia league team. I think it comes down to a lot to the legacy.
Yeah.
Once that legacy's wrapped up, maybe that's when they're like, okay.
Exactly. End of career, go chase the bag. Go get your money, go get your hundreds of millions.
I've done
Yeah,
everything
no, I
in this
agree.
sport, so
Yeah, money talks.
Yeah.
Money absolutely talks.
especially
Sweet.
when you're fading in terms of spotlight.
Right.
Exactly.
Ethan, what do you got for us today? You're our second batter up.
Oh, sweet. All right. So we'll go to the NBA now, where Victor Wembanyama, billed as the best prospect since LeBron James. Analysts saying 7'4" guard essentially, which is insane.
Who does he play for again?
The San Antonio Spurs were lucky enough to win the lottery and take
Yeah,
him
yeah.
at number 1.
Okay.
So last night he had a triple double, which for anybody that doesn't know, that's three different stats that are double digits. So like points, assists, and rebounds would be a
It can
normal
be any
triple-double.
three. It can be any three stats, but it's
Pretty
usually
much,
those.
except for like turnovers and fouls don't count
Mhm.
because that's not impressive. Well,
Right.
it's a little impressive. But yeah, last night Victor Wembanyama against the Raptors had 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 blocks. So he had a triple double with blocks, which has only been done by 3 different rookies in NBA history. One being the Hall of Famer Admiral David Robinson, and he did it 3 times, which is insane. But the question really is Wembanyama as good as he's been billed to be because he looks to be? I mean, he's a man among boys and he's like too skinny to handle bigs. But like when he puts on that 30 pounds,
That's the knock
it's,
against him,
yeah, I mean,
is
he's
that
7'4",
is that
210.
he's too thin.
Like I have bigger
He's
biceps than the dude.
who
And
is
like,
who is the other super
Okay.
tall Minute Bowl? Remember that guy?
yeah,
Minute Bowl. He was very, very tall as well, but sort of twiggy also.
exactly. Like the one knock on him is will he be able to handle the big guys who have like 50 pounds on him that can just bully him? Because
Right, like
like
Shaq
Embiid,
used to.
yeah, exactly. Like Shaq used to do. Like Embiid dropped 70 on Victor Wembanyama. So the thing is, when he puts on 30 pounds, is he going to be the best player we've ever seen?
I mean, you're taking a lot of things going into consideration. I mean, first of all, team success. Obviously,
Yes.
can't injuries, might prolong. Where does he go? Does he stay? Again, injuries. But I mean, the way he's been talked about in the media, he looks like a phenomenal player. I mean, to average a triple double, the first thing, like almost every single time, you're thinking assists, rebounds, and points. So to see blocks on there, and not assists, you're thinking this kid could have gotten a quadruple double, which would have been, I believe, the 5th in NBA history.
Which would be held by also David
Yeah,
Robinson.
David Robinson was the last one. And so if he can build some muscle, maybe get a good supporting cast, you don't need the 2011 Heat, I think, but if he can get playmakers,
Oh yeah, they're at the
They
bottom
are
of the barrel
set.
right now. They
Yeah.
definitely they have a lot of moves to make besides just getting a 7-4
yeah.
Ethan, you know what
goblin.
this kind of reminds me of? Kind of reminds me of, a couple years ago, we see this guy coming out of Duke. He's supposed to be the next LeBron James, Zion Williamson, kind of the opposite of what Wemby is. Obviously, he doesn't have the height. He was more of a, not average, but a more traditional power forward in the sense of the word.
Like a
But
big
Zion, kind of the opposite of Wemby, he has too much weight, not
Yeah.
too little weight. Wemby obviously needing to add on the pounds to be that post presence that, a better one than he already is. Obviously, being in the NBA at 20 years old is such an impressive feat. But Zion Williamson was supposed to be a great player and had injuries because his body could not handle the weight that he was pushing up and down the court. So injuries on and off. Now he's just kind of a forgotten name in the NBA. Obviously hoping that we see a comeback from him, but I'm worried that's what we're going to see from Wembanyama. I don't think he's ever going to get to that Kobe, LeBron, Michael Jordan status, which is obviously such a high status to hold this 20-year-old kid to when it's his first year in the league. He's probably going to win Rookie of the Year this year, but
Definitely.
I'm just very skeptical about injuries and if he can get his weight up. And if the NBA is going to turn into this, new 7-footer playing like a
7 foot,
point guard.
yeah.
type
What
of-
happened?
with
What
handles.
happened to Minute? Did he had bad knees, right? His knees gave out on him eventually,
yeah,
or
he never put on the weight. So like
right?
we never got to see the full potential of Manute Bol because he never put on the weight. The offense was never run through him.
Mm-hmm.
So like with
So you think this is
Wembanyama,
going to be different?
I think it is going to be different because to the Zion point, he wasn't as a prospect. He wasn't overweight. He kind of put on the weight when he got hurt. I want to say rookie or maybe the second year. But like we have seen what Zion is capable of because of how strong he is in the paint and how athletic he is. The knock on Zion, well, besides the injuries, is also he can't shoot. Victor Wembanyama can do everything from a skill point as a basketball player, and the one thing he has to do is put on weight. So there's more. I wouldn't say Zion was ever a generational prospect. So and there's that.
I think as long as he puts on that weight, he will be good because I think the last thing anyone wants to see, unless you're a rival fan, is wasted talent.
Yeah.
Jaxson, you're up next on the hit parade. What are you
Well,
bringing to the table?
All right, so obviously, this being filmed, I don't know when it's going to be put out recorded. Last Sunday.
Pretty quick.
Pretty
It's going to be
quick.
today,
Yeah,
probably.
always good.
Yeah,
Alright,
it
so
goes up fast.
Last Sunday, obviously, was the Super Bowl. You had the San Francisco 49ers going up against the Chiefs. The Chiefs, obviously, we've probably seen it already on the news, won that game, putting Patrick Mahomes to 3 championships in only 6 years. In all those 6 years, he's gone to the AFC Championship game where he's been a starter. And that just kind of brings up the question. The GOAT already, obviously, pretty consensus pick is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Will we see Patrick Mahomes even sooner than Tom Brady did, kind of take that GOAT remark. Here's just a couple stats for you guys so you can kind of get in the right mindset before talking
We
about
can
it.
ruminate on it.
Yeah. These are the playoff stats before turning 30. Patrick Mahomes had 18 games. Tom Brady had 14 games. Patrick Mahomes, 2,000 more passing yards, 20 more passing TDs
Oh, this is at the age of 28.
before turning 30.
Before turning 30. Okay.
Yeah. So Mahomes, obviously a couple more games, but being this young and having the dynasty that the Chiefs are, only needing 4 more championships to tie him and only needing 1 more MVP to tie him, will we see Patrick Mahomes before he's even 35 get up into that GOAT debate?
Yeah, definitely. Because there's one thing, if there's one minor flaw in Brady's immaculate career, was the stretch between 2004 and 2014. He had to wait 10 years for his 4th ring.
Yeah.
That is a lot of time. And that included those 2 losses to the G-Men. And I mean, Mahomes, he plays in our. This is the toughest AFC I've seen in my lifetime. I mean, you look at teams; some teams are completely stacked. I mean, the quarterbacks. This is like generational. It's incredible, and he's doing this. People wrote off the Chiefs. It was like, oh, it's the Ravens' year. Maybe Bills will finally top them. Mahomes goes out there and does what he's got to do. Steps up, makes the plays against the Niners. They're like, oh well. Niners are the favorites. They're the best well-run team. I mean, they're so consistent. And he just goes out there and he plays the game of his life, as he always does. And I mean, for the first time since 03 and 04, back-to-back Super Bowl champs. And I mean, he's already closing that ring gap really close. I know Brady played until 45, but if he can play until 40, I think he'll have that GOAT debate wrapped up.
It's
Well,
something you can kind of see between both of them. No big injury concerns yet through their
Yeah.
careers. They've obviously both missed a couple of games, but nothing big.
Yeah.
No ACLs, no
Well,
huge concussions.
mean-
Brady did tear his ACL in 08, but he did recover really well
Yeah.
from that.
but
What do you think
Patrick
about like
Okay.
personality wise? I mean, Tom Brady, pretty squeaky clean, easy to like guy, kind of a golden boy. Patrick Mahomes, a little bit different. He's not, I don't see him as being as just the kind of image that Tom Brady sort of had. Do you think that'll impact it at all? And
I think you got that backwards actually.
Aside from Deflategate.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Tom Brady has like the Deflategate. I mean, that was more Belichick.
well,
But
there
still,
was right.
the Spygate. Like Tom Brady was not the squeaky clean.
Okay,
good
maybe
boy.
not squeaky clean.
Like there's no reports of Mahomes cheating or any of that stuff. I mean, there's still people that think the NFL is rigged, which is crazy to me. But like Mahomes has the talent to be better than or to be better than Tom Brady. It's just about, is he able to have the long career to get all the accolades that Tom had? Because Tom, like he never got hit. He had terrific offensive line throughout his entire career. And he was able to be great because he never got hit. He was able to have the longevity to play to 45.
Right. So what?
yeah.
So that means he had a really good offensive line.
Well,
I mean,
that
the
and he's
Chiefs
getting
have
the ball
that. I
out.
mean, does Patrick Mahomes have that?
Well, Patrick Mahomes doesn't get hit because like
He puts
anybody
himself out
who-
there quite a bit.
Anybody who like actually like goes after the quarterback misses and he's able to escape the pocket. But like if he gets contained, yeah, he has a little bit of trouble. But yeah, Chiefs offensive line is decent. Yeah.
And the way that both like the Chiefs and Pats first 3 rings, their defenses were very dominant. And I know when in Super Bowl 55 that O-line and defense were atrocious, ironically against Brady. But you look at the next few Super Bowls and you're like, that defense really clammed up when it had to. That offense stepped up. I mean,
That's why they traded Tyreek Hill
Yeah.
to
And I
invest in
mean-
the defense.
just like Mahomes, he's gonna have to face fouls, just like what Brady did with Rivers, Manning, and now we got Burrow, Allen, and probably more in the future.
Who knows what's going to happen? Andrea, we know what's going to happen next. Is you have the floor. What are you going to talk about today?
Well, today I was going to talk about baseball, more specifically the Diamondbacks. After having a mostly successful 2023 season, especially starting off with the low chance of making it to the World Series. They were led by Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte to a 2023 World Series appearance for the first time since I believe 2001.
Yeah.
Correct
I
me if
believe
I'm
it.
wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think
Yankees
their
kinda know
last
that all too
playoff,
well.
their last playoff appearance was 2017, I believe. If
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. So last season they swept the Brewers in the wild card series, and I think that's like a 7-game series. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Wild
yeah?
card is
Or is it-
three. It's 3-5-7. So
okay.
the wild card's 3, and then division's
Division's
5,
five.
and then
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
course.
And then sweeping the Dodgers, which was actually insane to me. Like,
Everyone here in the
So
valley
happy.
loved that, by the way.
I did.
Almost
yeah,
everybody.
Yeah.
I went to
I'm a
game
I'm a
3
Here's the
actually.
problem: is they pissed off the Dodgers and they went and spent $1 billion in the offseason. So
I was actually at that game when they scored those 4 homers in 1 inning. Insane. But anyways, and then they went on to play the Phillies, which they won, pushing them to the World Series. I guess my question really is can they like live up to the high expectations going into the 2024 season?
It's tough to do.
I don't think there is as high as expectations as people think, because the D-backs last year were an 84-win team that just kind of got hot at the right time.
Yeah.
So I like the moves they made getting they got a couple outfielders, I'm blanking right now. Oh, Jock Peterson. And they got a couple nice moves, but really they were a couple years early when they went all the way to the World Series. So I think it's really exciting what we've got here in Arizona. And but I wouldn't expect another World Series run this year.
I mean, they're riding off of momentum, and momentum is great, but when that momentum stalls, that can be, that can be a bit defying, because then you could go on like a big, you can go on losing streaks, and those are killer.
I feel like
Base
that's kind of what happened in the World Series.
I
They
mean,
kind of
Texas
lost
was
momentum.
kind of just the better team.
Yeah.
And as soon as Corey Seager hit the walk-off home run, Corey Seager hit the tying home run, and then Garcia hit the walk-off.
Yeah.
As soon as that happened, I was like, yeah, this series is over. Texas is by far the better team, and they have momentum right now. And the D-backs just don't have the bullpen to hang with a lineup like Texas.
Sadly.
So
and
Texas just
baseball
took
more than
over.
any sport, I feel like it's momentum. It's not really the amount of star. I mean, I feel like you see almost every year these star players. One that comes to mind, Francisco Lindor, signed to the Mets, multi-million-dollar deal, one of the highest paid players in the league because of what he did, winning the World Series with the Indians, goes to a big market, and just kind of stalls out. Wasn't really the star player that he was when he was in
The
Cleveland.
Indians won the World Series?
Yes.
no, they were
Or they went to the World Series.
they
Oh,
ran
okay,
into the
went.
Cubs.
Okay. I was gonna say for
And,
sure. the Cubs.
But a couple long runs with the Indians where he was
Oh,
one
he's
of, if not the
terrific.
top player in the league. I feel like you're going to see that a lot where the players who were good last year aren't guaranteed to be good this year, like you see in the NFL or in the NHL. Star players in baseball, it's a lot, and not to say the word, but the yips come up a lot. Players get hot, they get streaky, batters.
I can't believe you said the
then-
yips.
I know,
It's
right?
like you're not supposed to say that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, no Diamondbacks are listening.
Oh,
And then
well,
they just flame out, and
hopefully they are.
they're gone.
No,
It's gonna
but
be
yeah.
it's gonna be hard to tell. I mean, like we were talking about, momentum is a big thing. How are they going to start out this year? If they start out flat, are they going to have it? Are they going to have enough to turn it around like they did last year?
Well, the other thing is I don't look too much into April anyway, because some teams get off to slow starts and end up making a big run.
Right, it's a
or
long
winning
season. It's
100.
definitely a long season, and I mean, it's maybe almost better to start out slow and get that little reality check, and then do like the Diamondbacks did last year and kick it into high gear at some point in time.
As long as you don't dig your grave within those
Right,
first
right,
Yeah,
right.
You
But
gotta
I
stay
mean,
at least
I don't
within
think
the fight.
anybody had really big expectations for the Diamondbacks last season when
No,
they started out the way they did.
Yeah.
And,
like
we were-
borderline wild card team
Right.
is what was the expectation, because
Right.
they got guys like Corbin Carroll coming up at the time. So
Mhm. Yep, they
So,
still have those
yeah.
good players. So I mean, we'll see what's going to happen.
and Carroll's like 22 years old, so he's gonna be around for a while, and they don't really have to pay him yet, even though I think they already did. So with yeah, I
Who
think
knows
they'll be good.
we're gonna have to wait and see, I guess.
Fingers crossed.
Olivia Rose, it's you and I bringing up we're the anchor team right here today.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and why don't you bring us into our segment? What are we going to talk about?
So we are going to talk about the 2023 wasted management. Phoenix Open.
Yeah, that's what we call it here.
Wasted time, wasted people. It was a mess. It was last weekend, February 6th through the 12th at TPC Scottsdale.
Yeah, we just got through it on Sunday.
Yes, there was a mix of bad weather, rain and hail, record-breaking attendance, and alcohol consumption, as well as a general lack of organization that
It was
left
chaos.
very much so. It left fans and golfers alike calling for changes. Some were even encouraging a boycott for future years. There were a lot of viral moments that came out of this year's event, such as two golfers, Billy Horschel and Zach Johnson. They were captured on video arguing with hecklers. There was a fan who flew out of the rafters or fell out of the rafters.
A young lady fell
Yeah.
out of the 16 grandstand on Friday, I believe that happened.
Right. There were
She had to go to the hospital as well.
Yes. There were audience
okay?
members.
I don't know, to be honest.
I don't know either. I hope she's
She had to go to the hospital. I'm assuming she's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But
there's
the-
grass and stuff underneath her.
The
Yeah.
Snow Angels guy.
Right.
Snow Angel.
Right. A
Slip
gentleman
and
ran out,
slide.
tried to
Slip
make
and
a
slide.
snow angel
Yeah.
in the bunker. There was some guy sliding down the
The
hill
mud.
in the
Yeah.
mud
Yeah.
on sort of a carpet of beer containers.
Right.
There was a fight on Sunday. There was a fight. A couple of guys got into a brawl.
Yeah.
Um,
Something I hadn't heard until looking into this was that apparently they were letting in fans that didn't even have tickets, or they weren't scanning tickets at the door.
oh, really?
So it was clearly just not organized at all. There were huge groups of fans around the concession stands as well. There were no orderly lines or anything like that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it kind of just leaves us at a point where we're reflecting on it now and wondering what can be done. Should huge changes be implemented? Should we start small? I think the biggest thing that everyone's talking about is alcohol sales. Should there be a cap? You know, how would they go about preventing something like this in the future?
Right. It's a hard question because you're dealing with a couple of different things. You're dealing with the fact that the tournament has been quote unquote allowed to be this way for quite a number of years. You and I were talking during pre-production that it didn't used to be completely out of control. There has always been people who acted up or acted out. But it wasn't like the majority of fans. It seemed like this year there was much more unruliness than there normally is. When I first started going to the tournament back in the 90s, it was a little bit different atmosphere. It was more people who were interested to see a golf tournament, who were at the tournament. Maybe they got a little bit rowdy while they were there, but they were primarily golfers and they were interested in seeing the tournament.
Yeah.
Now, at some point in time between then and now, it's become a social scene. It's become a party scene. It's become acceptable to boo the golfers. If you watch any golf tournament through the whole season that's not called the Wasted Management Phoenix Open, which is just what we call it. It's the waste management. I'm sorry.
It's gonna catch
Oh,
on.
I never
Right. But
clarified.
it's been allowed to be this way because they make a lot of money on alcohol sales. They make a lot of money on people showing up there just to be in the in crowd and
look at
just
the
to
16th
party.
hole.
Okay. The 16th hole has always been rowdy, but it seems like it's spilled over
To the
quite a
whole
bit
event.
to
Yeah.
the kind of the whole event. I think to me, if you're really actually serious about changing the tournament, I think what you have to do is eliminate alcohol sales or make alcohol sales. I was thinking about this today on my bike ride into school, is to maybe have alcohol sales in controlled areas. So if you have, let's say the Weekapaw Suite,
Yeah.
if you go to the Weekapaw Suite, you can have some beers there. Or if you're in one of the sky boxes, you can have some beers there. But you know what? If your group gets unruly or rowdy, you're going to be asked to leave, or you're going to be, or the alcohol is going to be cut off. But it has to get down to a point where you can isolate the fans that are causing problems,
Yeah.
because this weekend it was everybody almost. Not now I'm saying everybody, but it wasn't everybody, but there was way more. It was way more out of control. It's the first time in the history of the tournament that they stopped letting people in the tournament. They closed the gates.
Yeah.
Okay. It's probably the first time that they limited alcohol, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah.
But there were drunken people there at 6 o'clock in the morning running
Right.
to the 16th hole to get a spot on Saturday.
And thank you for mentioning the kind of like connotation of the Open in recent years, because that's something I totally forgot to mention, that it's just seen as like
Right.
kind of a
It's,
day drinking
yeah,
party event.
it's a
you know?
party now. It's not, it's really, like we were saying, if you went up to 50 people and asked them who's at the top of the leaderboard, if they can't see a leaderboard, they're not going to be able to tell you,
Right.
because they're not there following the tournament really
And
necessarily.
I did just find an article from ESPN. It was unknown if the woman who fell had been drinking, but she's okay. Non-life-threatening injuries.
We have to assume that
'Cause now I'm
something
thinking about
something
her.
was going on.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I'm very big on you don't have to drink to have a good time. So
For
I
sure.
feel like
Yeah.
Yeah.
it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they just stopped selling alcohol at that.
There would be a
Especially with-
decrease in attendance.
That, yeah,
There
that,
sure would.
That's
that would
fair.
that would be a great way to take all the fun out of the Waste Management
Yeah.
Open. The Waste
Yeah,
Management,
it's true.
the Waste Management Open is what it is. They're not like every PGA Tour event isn't like this. This is
Yeah.
like it's
No.
for the Waste Management, and that's
Right.
good. If golf got like this, where other courses and other PGA Tour events got like this, then okay, like that's a problem. Golf is golf. Let Augusta be Augusta. Let the Masters be the Masters.
Mhm.
But I'll ask you this: how many ESPN social media posts were there last week for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am? Maybe one for the winner. You know how many there was this week for TPC Scottsdale for the Waste Management?
Everybody
I'd
was.
probably say 20 plus on ESPN, on Bleach Report, on these sites, showing, oh my God, these crazy drunk guys. Maybe it's not the best thing for golf, but
It
it's
does bring a
definitely
lot of
Yeah.
awareness
it's
to it.
getting more people into golf.
Yeah.
It's showing them that, it could be fun.
Yeah, society sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's getting more people into
mean-
golf. It's getting more people into thinking they should maybe go party at the Phoenix Open next
Yeah.
mean,
winter.
There's
But I
a
don't know if it's
huge
bringing people
rager.
into the game, to be
It's at least
honest.
showing the game
Yeah.
to people when golf is,
Mhm.
probably
So what you're saying, Jackson, is let it be. And if you're Zach Johnson and you don't want to deal with it, there's been plenty of golfers in the past. Tiger Woods quit coming to the Phoenix Open many, many, many years
Because of
ago
the reputation.
because
Yeah.
of the way that things are. Now, granted, people moved big rocks out of the way for him and did crazy stuff to help him out, but he didn't want to be part of that, so he quit playing in it. Are you saying just, hey man, if you don't like it, then don't come? Is
Yeah,
that
I
what you're
mean,
saying?
Zach Johnson's a legend, obviously winning that 2007 Masters over Tiger Woods, funny enough. But he obviously played in the tournament. It's not like he knew what he was getting coming into it. Obviously, maybe not to the extent it was, but he knew that there was going to be people cheering and booing. It's just when people start messing and, chirping specific things to him when he's, trying to get locked in, that's maybe when you got to say, hey, take a step back.
Right. These guys are professional athletes. They're competing for an awful lot of money. So, you and your buddies guffawing in the background when he's trying to hit his drive that's taking money out of his pocket.
But I've also seen multiple clips of people on the 16th hole, doing the classic, hey, get riled up, get the crowd up
Sure.
while they're trying
Right.
to putt.
Sure. And that's
kind of playing into it.
Johnson told the Arizona Republic that the heckler made it personal. And
Mhm.
that's why
Exactly. there's a line, and
talked
people
back.
got to know the line.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, drunk, stupid people usually don't
Like,
know the line.
They don't.
No, they
Yeah,
don't.
they don't.
They do
I
not.
mean,
They do not.
I mean, I went on.
All hecklers don't really know the line.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean-
you see all these crazy things happening, like the Eagles fans throwing popcorn on Nick Sirianni the other
yeah.
week. Like, there's a line, and people in attendance usually don't know the line,
mean-
especially in Philly.
People forget, as a fan, you still have a job, technically speaking. I mean, you're there to support. And
Yeah.
you can like boo and stuff.
Yeah,
know,
but
Well, you're not really supposed to at golf tournaments.
The
It's
golf
not
tournaments are
necessarily
different.
right.
But,
It's
like,
not. You're not supposed to boo
don't
golfers.
make
You're
it
definitely not.
personal, stuff like that. I mean, I went on Sunday and I mean, I was on hole 16 on the top level and I looked down at, I want to say hole 11, And this golfer, he's walking, and he keeps turning his head towards the crowd, and he just throws his hands up in frustration, almost like someone's heckling him. And I mean, I know with hole 16, like, I mean, if you hit it into the bunker and stuff, like then fans will boo you for a bad shot. That's kind of its own thing. But I mean, if you're on hole 11, hole 13, and you're just trying to annoy a golfer, come on, that's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think some changes need to be made, Olivia. I think you're right. Jaxson, maybe you're right as well. Maybe if you're a professional golfer and you're not down to clown with the craziness
Just
there,
don't play the Open.
yeah, maybe
Skip a
you should.
week.
Yeah, maybe you should just take the week off.
Well, yeah, when
Because
you
it-
oh,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, so when you play professional sports, you're gonna see this all the time. So
Right. Right.
when you sign up for that, either play or don't play. If you have the option to opt out, that's up to you.
And they do.
Money talks.
Yeah.
So I
Sure.
mean, I guess we got to decide if we want a nice golf tournament or if we want a nice
money.
party.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Thanks for tuning into the very first episode of Fielder's Choice today. We appreciate that. Check out our site at nevalleynews.org. Also, check us out on social media at nevalleynews.org. For now, that's going to be it. Tune in next. Well, let's see. When's our next podcast? We're going to have a podcast coming up next month that's going to deal with current events. Some of the panel members here today may be very well on that as well, or they may not be. We'll have to wait and see. But tune in for that next month, and then we will be back in April with more Fielder's Choice on nevalleynews.org. Thanks for tuning in.